So, full disclosure, I did not want to be shooting a video this morning. I had a bunch of work to do, but something happened, and we need to talk about it. So, I want you to watch this clip. I was out on the lake on Sunday, and this is what happened.
So it's Sunday. I came out to Guntersville, and I'm up at Goose Pond, and they're running the big bass splash. And dude, I'm no angel. I know this is gonna happen from time to time, but I absolutely hate seeing this, dude. There's 2 dead fish right here. That's among the 25 that I've counted. There's another one over there. There's another one over there. There's 2 back there, like a 5-6 pounder back there, and then I can see 4 more right there. So, I know you're gonna run tournaments and all that, but like, dude, like the whole fun is catching them, right? Like, try to just be a little more careful, or let's figure out a better way to keep these fish okay. Because the only reason you're having a big bass splash is because there's big bass to catch, right? And we all kind of want to keep it that way.
So, first off, moral of the story, we have to be better. They have to be better. I don't care where you put the blame. I think there's enough blame to go around between anglers as well as like tournament organization stuff, like Big Bass Tour, Big Bass Splash, or whatever it's called, as well as the participants. There's always 2 sides to a story, right? So there's more to it than just saying you did this, you did that. I don't get into all that because that's unrealistic. There is no villain, dude. We're all kind of responsible. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, I don't care who's responsible. I want to find solutions because the reality is, like, I love this. Like, I'm a transplant. I'm a foreigner coming to like live near Lake Guntersville, but it's an absolutely cool place, stellar place. Not always easy to fish, but it has big fish. It has a lot of different ways you can catch fish. And I've probably learned more in these past like 4 or 5 years that I've been on this lake than I have in 10, 15 years of fishing in Florida. It's super dimensional. Like, it's tough, but it's easy, but it's just such a cool place. And I want it to stay that way. You know, I'm personally invested in this area. I'm personally invested in the fishery. And to see that many dead fish floating around because no one gives a F, like, come on, dude. Like, we have to take more pride in what we do. Like, the tournament organization needs to take pride in what they're doing and show care, show the extra effort for the fish. And dude, anglers, you guys aren't off the hook either. You get to take pride in what you're doing. Like, I'm proud that I like to go fishing. I'm proud of the fisheries that we have. I'm proud when I figure something out. I need to have that equal amount of pride when it comes to taking care of the fish, because the fish are they're the whole kind of the X in the equation, right? You got Y plus X equals Mike's happiness and a lot of people's happiness. So you got to have the X, otherwise we're going to be SOL, dude. So you got to take pride in taking care of the fish, both on the tournament administrative end as well as in the boat. Do the extra steps. Use the G-juice. Put ice water bottles. Don't put the actual ice in the live well, but have enough bottles so you can put one in every hour and a half or so, drop it into the live well. Make sure you're running your pumps, your oxygenators continually throughout the day. Use live well solutions. There's a whole range of things. The other thing too, and this is just reality, and I know guys don't want to hear it, you probably shouldn't run 5 fish tournaments after, say, June, July. And ideally, and I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of the MLF style kind of like weigh and release. And, we're fishermen. We're not 100% honest. We're like 85% honest. The picture, photo, like CPR, capture, photo release or something like that. Like, we need to figure out a way to sort of meet in the middle when it comes to these tournaments where we're not dragging all these fish to the scales, but we're catching them, enjoying that portion. We're still being competitive, trying to put together a good bag, but we're getting those fish released ASAP, especially during the summer months. I know, like, tournaments aren't going to stop. That's just reality, and I don't think they should. The other end of this is, the Big Bass Splash brings a bunch of money, a bunch of anglers, a bunch of focus to Lake Guntersville. And for as much as we kind of piss and moan about, there's a million people out there and that's a good thing. That money coming in and then supporting the surrounding community, coming into hotels, going to GTO and waterfront, these are all positive things. Like, there's nothing bad about that. That's good for the lake as well as the community surrounding it. But at the same time, we've got to make sure it's being run correctly. Like, it's being run for the good of the fish, like the fishermen, but for the good of the fish as well. This one is kind of weird. This part, I talked to a buddy. So full disclosure, I talked to a buddy from Scottsboro, and he's a very cynical individual, super nice guy, but he's very cynical. And one of the things that he mentioned too is, so you got all these floating fish around. I don't know if all of them were dead. Some guys that I talked to said some were just like on the very tail end of being alive. They were still having, gill movements, but they were floating. And he's like, bruh, I guarantee you, because so Goose Pond is a boat ramp, and there's a giant flat all around it. When me and Swimsuit Girl were out there was a bunch of people like around that flat, like in giant groups, like focusing on different parts of creek swings and different parts of the grass flat. And there were just like tons of boats grouped up together. And he's like, I bet you there's guys that picked up some of these fish that were still half alive and brought them to weigh in again. I'm like, I really don't want to believe that. Like, I deep down inside, I don't want to think that's possible. But the fact is, when there's that much like money in the line and potential for prizes and that, money makes people do stupid, stuff. Let's just call it that. And I don't think he's wrong. I can't identify any of those people, but I guarantee you, one or two of those guys picked up one of those fish that was still half alive and brought it to reweigh in, because they were just floating around, dude, on the brink of death. Most of them were passed already. It was just kind of terrible. But all right, so what can we do to change some stuff? It's best practices. We need to do better when it comes to fish management in the sense of in the boat during the tournament. Turn the live wells on. And guys, this is not just me yapping. I want to hear recommendations you have down in the description or down in the comments. Like, let me know what you think. Like, what are the best practices to promote, tournament fishing and enjoy that? But the things that we need to do as anglers, and then these organizations need to do as administrators of the tournament, to make sure that we're not killing a bunch of the biggest fish in the lake. I think that's what pisses me off the most. These were the biggest fish that people could catch in Lake Guntersville, and they're just getting killed and they're dying, and it's stupid. Like, I don't know. It's too bad, and I understand that it wasn't meant to happen like this, but it's just absolutely frustrating. Like, to an extent, it's like, what do you think's going to happen when you have, like, thousands of fish being weighed in every hour? Well, throughout, like, 3 days, but every hour you have a weigh-in, there's tons of fish being run around, boxed up, go to the friggin' ramp, drop off, friggin', they release them right there. I don't know. In any case, so we mention some changes. If you have some changes that you think we need to make, drop them down in the comments. One, live well care. Have your treatments, run your live wells continually. Some of the older live wells, they're not as powerful, so maybe update your live wells with some new pumps, things along those lines. The other thing is, I understand that the release boat did not have an aerator or oxygenator. That's what we're still trying to figure out. But basically, the fish were being stored in an aluminum can I don't know if they were releasing them after every hour, or if they're holding on to them for like 2 hours and getting 2 sets of fish from the weigh-in and then releasing when they got enough of it. I don't know. But obviously, you can't put fish in a tin can that's baking in the sun when it's like 85 freaking degrees out. That's probably not so good either. So there needs to be a better strategy for a release boat. Getting those fish good. Some people have talked about adding, pure oxygen from an oxygenator. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biologist. I'm not a marinologist, whatever the hell they're called. So those are some things that, I'm sure there's a bunch of people from the Alabama Wildlife Commission that would be happy to advise, like a tournament or an administrator like that. And that's what needs to happen. They got to reach out and talk about it and make that happen. The other thing is timing. June, July, August, not the best times to run a tournament, especially when it's this many fish like coming to the stage. In full disclosure, I'm gonna fish a derby like at the end of June. I do like to think that I kind of take a lot of precautions, and the administration of it is pretty smooth. The other thing too is it's a smaller derby, so you're not gonna have, like, it'll probably be like 30 boats or something like that. You're not gonna have these extensive lines where people have fish in a bag in a line for like 15 minutes. The other thing too is we're gonna weigh all our fish. One thing that I think was happening with this as well is guys would get in, they'd send their buddy up the dock, and they go check what the leading weights were as they kind of came in to bring a fish in. And if that fish that they had in the box wasn't the right size, they just dumped it out, like, gone. So there was no like taking time. They were like rushing. They're like, hey, our fish isn't going to make it. Throw them out in the friggin', in the whatever, and let's get out of here. There was no sense of like taking the time to revive or make sure that fish was okay. Maybe gassing the fish. Sometimes that can help. But at the same time, when they're hot and sitting in a box for a while and then you gas them, I think it takes more out of them and it just makes it less likely that they're going to survive. There's just a lot of things that went wrong. And it's really disappointing. Like the problem is it's a fine balance. There's a lot of good things that the big bass thing brings to Lake Guntersville and tournaments like these. They highlight the lake. They bring a lot of money in for tourism and actually doing good things, updating boat ramps, keeping it nice. But at the same time, when you have this many fish get killed, the whole reason for having a big bass splash at Lake Guntersville is sort of undermined because you're literally killing the fish that drive the demand for the tournament. Doesn't make much sense, right? And it's just disappointing. Like, we need to be... I'm not a big pride guy. Yeah, if you guys watch the videos, like, I like to keep it kind of quiet and DL. Like, I don't do all the fancy schmancy and all that stuff. But maybe internally, we need to be proud enough of what we do and how we enjoy it to take better care of it and not just be idiots using it like I don't know, it's a resource. It's not a commodity. It's not, the fish aren't objects, dude. We need to treat them decently and well. Like, you don't have to think it's a person, but it is something that brings us all like a lot of happiness and a lot of fulfillment. And in order to keep that rolling for us and then whoever, comes after us, we got to take care of it because it's getting more pressure. We're getting better at this, forward facing all this stuff where we're getting better at catching these fish. So we need to be better about taking care of these fish. So that's my rant. It's really simple. I'm not a huge fan of tournaments, as you guys know, but I'm kind of dabbling around and getting into it. But the one thing that I think is the most important aspect of this is the change in these kinds of occurrences start literally like at the grassroots level, at the ground level. It starts with me. It starts with you. It starts with Joe Bob. It like literally you have to change. You're never going to change everybody, but individuals need to change and take that extra 5 minutes to do the right thing and take care of these fish, to use the solutions, to run the pumps, to maybe get an extra pump in there, make sure you have ice, that like frozen bottles the day before, just little things. And that change starts with you. And then people see you doing that. They see you being successful, fishing derbies, things along those lines, but then they see the way you behave and the way you treat these fish. That's how things get changed. Not by pointing fingers and being like, you did this wrong, you did. Like, we all make mistakes. We all do things wrong. But be the change that you want to see, and that's kind of my philosophy. So I'm sure you guys got some stuff to add. Drop it down in the comments box. I don't want to see these derbies go away. I just want to see them be better, and I want to see them treat the fishery better, and I want to see us as anglers treat the fisheries better too, because I want the fish to hang around. I will be very depressed, very sad, and practically unlivable with. Like, Swimsuit Girl will literally leave me if I can't go fishing and take the edge off, dude. So we need some bass fishes swimming around out there. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that like and subscribe button. I really hope we will not be shooting another video like this anytime soon. Later, boys.